Hello everyone. I am the Midnight Storyteller and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep. So before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching now? Get comfortable and relax. The ice cream man comes at night. It started the summer I turned 17. We were between heat waves, stuck in that humid silence that only small towns can manage. I lived in a cul-de-sac just outside of town. 10 identical houses, cracked sidewalks, and grass burned yellow by the July sun. It was the kind of place where nothing happened. Until something did. The first time we heard the music, it was just past 2 a.m. It was the old-fashioned kind of tune, like something from a warped music box, slowed down, off-key. Pop goes the weasel, but twisted. I thought I was dreaming. But my little brother Joey heard it too. He was standing at the window in his Spider-Man pajamas, staring out into the street like he was in a trance. "There's an ice cream truck," he said without turning around. "Can I go?" My heart dropped. "Joey, it's the middle of the night." "I know," he whispered. "But he's here." I looked outside. And there it was, an old, boxy white truck crawling down the street, moving way too slowly. No lights. Just that awful song echoing down the road. I couldn't see the driver, but I saw the shadow of a large figure sitting behind the wheel. It didn't stop. It just glided past our house. The next day, I asked the neighbors if they'd heard it. They looked at me like I was joking. Some laughed. Others didn't answer. That night, Joey had a nightmare. He said the ice cream man had come into his room. Said he was offering him something, whispering without moving his mouth. Said his breath smelled like freezer burn and mold. By the third night, I was ready with my phone. The truck came again. 2:04 a.m. I recorded the sound from my window, but when I checked my phone the next morning, the video was blank. No audio. No image. Just black. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Joey. We just listened to the song fading into the distance, feeling colder than we should have in the middle of July. The next night, I set an alarm for 1:50 a.m., just to be sure I'd be ready. I sat by the window with a baseball bat in my lap and my phone set to record. Joey was asleep in my bed. I didn't want him anywhere near that window again. 2:03 a.m. The tune started before I saw the truck. That same broken melody, dragging through the silence like nails across a chalkboard. I felt the air grow colder, like the heat had been sucked from the room. My window fogged up from the inside. Then it came into view. Same boxy white truck. Rust creeping along the wheel wells. A faded decal of a melting popsicle on the side. But this time, it stopped. Right in front of our house. My breath caught. The music continued, but the truck idled in silence. Engine off. No headlights. Just that music, warbling from a speaker that seemed embedded in its skin. I lifted my phone and started recording again, carefully, slowly. But even as I held the screen in front of me, I felt like I was being watched. Then the music cut off. The silence was unbearable. Something moved behind the foggy windshield. A large silhouette. Unmoving, but staring, no doubt in my mind. I couldn't see the face, but I saw a glimmer of something, like teeth. And then, Joey started whispering behind me. "He's calling me again." I spun around. Joey was still asleep. Eyes closed, face pale. But he was talking in his sleep, whispering things like, "Yes, I'll come this time," and "I want the cold one." My skin prickled all over, Outside, the truck's back door creaked open. I turned back to the window just in time to see it swing outward, slow, deliberate. Thick mist poured out of it, like dry ice, and curled across the street. Someone, stepped out. Not quickly. Like it had all the time in the world. It was tall. Too tall. Wearing what looked like a uniform, but stretched, bulging around a frame not meant for cloth. The head. I don't even know how to describe it. Like a pig's face, but long and distorted, with sunken eyes and a grin that stretched too far up the cheeks. And then it looked directly at me. Not just at the window, at me. I froze. Completely. Not even breathing. That thing, whatever it was, didn't blink, didn't move. Just stared. Its grin was wide enough that I could see rows of small, sharp teeth even from behind the glass. I wanted to move, to duck, to hide, but I couldn't. It raised one hand. Gloved, enormous, with fingers too long for a human. In that hand was a popsicle. Not one you'd find in any normal freezer. It was jet black, shimmering slightly under the streetlight. Steam, or was it smoke? Drifted off it in curls. And then it pointed the popsicle at me. Like it was offering it. I yanked the curtains closed and backed away from the window, nearly tripping over the bat. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it might wake the whole house. But Joey didn't stir. He just kept murmuring in his sleep, smiling slightly like he was dreaming of something sweet. I waited. And waited. The music didn't come back on. The truck didn't drive away. Minutes passed in a silence so thick it made my ears ring. I dared a glance out the window again. The truck was gone. No tire marks. No fog. No trace. But something was left behind. On our porch sat the black popsicle, upright on the doormat like it had been placed there carefully. It wasn't melting. It didn't even glisten in the heat. It just stood there, perfectly still, like it was waiting for someone to pick it up. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Neither did Joey. The next morning, the popsicle was still there. Except now, there were two. I stood at the door for a long time, staring at them. Two black popsicles. One taller than the other. Perfectly straight. Perfectly balanced. Still not melting, even though the July sun was already baking the front porch. I didn't touch them. I didn't even want to be near them. Instead, I grabbed Joey and we left. I told my mom we were going to the library, but really I just needed to get out of the house. Away from the music, away from the window, away from whatever had stood in the street last night. We stayed out until late evening. When we got back, the popsicles were gone. I almost let myself believe it was over. That night, I turned my phone's camera on again and left it aimed at the window while I stayed on the floor next to Joey, pretending to sleep. At 2:06 a.m., the camera light blinked off on its own. The room turned cold again, colder than it had any right to be in the middle of summer. I didn't hear the music this time, but I felt the vibration of something moving outside. Slow. Heavy. Like the hum of an idling engine buried underground. Then, the knock. Knock, knock, knock. Not at the front door. At the window. Right above where my camera had been recording. I didn't move. I couldn't. 3 more knocks. Slow. Measured. Too high up to be Joey, too heavy to be human. Then a voice, muffled through the glass. Deep, scratchy, like a whisper trapped in a freezer. Come out, it's your turn. Joey stirred beside me. sat up slowly, and said, "I want the cold one." "No," I hissed, grabbing Joey's wrist. "You're not going anywhere." But his eyes were still closed. Sleepwalking. He stood up, pulling his arm free with more strength than he should have had. His face was pale, lips moving silently, like he was repeating something I couldn't hear. I jumped up and blocked the window just as his hand reached for the latch. There was a shadow on the other side of the glass. Huge. Broad-shouldered. Its outline was barely visible behind the curtain, but I could make out the slope of that unnatural head and the glint of its teeth in the moonlight. It wasn't moving. Just waiting. Joey whispered, "He said the cold one is for me, and the warm one is for you." I backed away, heart pounding. I grabbed Joey and shook him hard. "Wake up. Joey. Wake up now." His eyes snapped open. He looked confused. "Why are we by the window?" The shadow vanished. I pulled him into the bathroom, the only room in the house without a window, and locked the door. We sat on the tile floor, listening for the sound of the truck, for music, for anything. But there was only silence. Eventually, Joey fell asleep in my lap. I didn't. When dawn came, I dared to open the front door again. This time, there were 3 popsicles. 1 black. 1 red. 1 pure white. Each had a name scratched into the stick: Joey. Me. Mom. I didn't wake Mom. I didn't want her to see her name etched into that white stick. Instead, I took a pair of tongs from the kitchen, wrapped my hand in 2 dish towels, and scooped up the popsicles one by one. Even through all the layers, I felt it, that cold. Not the kind of cold you get from the freezer, but something deeper. It felt wrong. Like touching something that had never been alive. I stuffed them in a shoebox, slammed the lid shut, and threw them in the garage fridge. I didn't know what else to do. But they didn't melt. Not even after hours. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I sat in the hallway with my back to Joey's door, bat in hand, phone recording again. 2 a.m. passed. Nothing. 2:10 a.m. passed. Still nothing. And then, just as I was starting to think maybe, just maybe, it was over, I heard the garage door creak. I froze. Not the big metal door to the driveway, the inside one. The one that leads to the kitchen. I stood slowly, gripping the bat tighter, and crept toward the sound. There was something scratching at the other side. Not hard. Just dragging. Like nails. Or claws. I pressed my ear to the door. Silence. Then a whisper, almost playful. "Did you taste it?" I stumbled back and nearly tripped. The voice wasn't coming from behind the door. It was coming from inside the garage. I turned and flicked on the light. The shoebox was open. The fridge door hung wide. The popsicles were gone. I stood there, frozen in the doorway of the garage, staring at the empty shoebox. No puddles. No sticky trails. No signs of melting or movement. Just gone. And then I saw it. A small smear of frost on the floor. Leading away from the fridge, across the garage, to the far wall, where the breaker panel was. Except now, the panel was open. And inside, something was moving. I crept forward, my feet numb from fear. As I got closer, I saw it more clearly. A small, glistening shape wedged behind the wires. Thin. Pale. Flickering slightly in the dim light. It looked like a tongue. A child's tongue. I slammed the panel shut without thinking. The metal echoed through the garage like a scream. A second later, all the lights in the house went out. I ran back inside, heart pounding, bat in hand. The air felt heavier now, thicker. Like the atmosphere had shifted. Like the house wasn't ours anymore. Joey was standing at the top of the stairs. But something was wrong. He was holding one of the popsicles. The black one. "Where did you get that?" I asked, stepping toward him. He didn't answer. He didn't even blink. Just stared at me with wide, empty eyes. His lips were blue. His fingertips trembling. "He gave it back," Joey whispered. "Said it wasn't my time yet. But he left me something else." He opened his free hand. Inside was a tooth. Not his. Not human. And it was still bleeding. I felt sick. The tooth pulsed in Joey's palm, like it had a heartbeat of its own. Long and jagged, too many ridges, stained at the root with something thick and black. I slapped it out of his hand before I could stop myself. It hit the carpet and didn't bounce. It stuck. Right into the floor, as if the fibers had turned to flesh. Joey flinched but didn't cry. He just looked down and said quietly, he said, "If I eat the popsicle, I'll be cold forever. And I won't have to be afraid anymore." I didn't know what to say. How do you fight something that rewrites the rules of the world? That speaks in dreams and leaves bleeding teeth as gifts? That night, I made Joey sleep in my bed again. I locked every door. Pulled the dresser in front of the window. Left the lights on. At 1:59 a.m., they flickered. At 2 a.m., they died. But this time, there was no music. Just footsteps. Slow, crunching footsteps across the gravel in front of the house. I peeked through the blinds, just enough to see what I already knew would be there. The truck. But not outside. It was in our driveway. Closer than ever. And there, standing by our mailbox, was the ice cream man. His body was hunched now, too big for his clothes, like he'd outgrown them in the last 24 hours. His arms dangled at strange angles, his hands dragging something behind him. A cart. A freezer cart. The kind you'd see at a carnival, with a clear lid and little compartments. Only this one wasn't filled with popsicles. It was filled with faces. Dozens of them, frozen in mid-scream, stacked like trophies. Some I recognized. Kids from school. A neighbor. One looked like my old teacher. And then, one looked like me. I stumbled back from the window, gasping for breath. My face, was in that cart. Frozen. Mouth wide. Eyes rolled back. How could it be mine? Was it a warning? A threat? A glimpse of what was coming? Joey stirred behind me. I turned to him, desperate to keep him asleep. But he was already sitting up again. His skin was pale. His lips, blue as frostbite. He said I already belonged to him, Joey murmured. He said I've tasted it. What are you talking about? I hissed, kneeling beside him. You haven't eaten anything. I would have seen it. Joey looked at me, and for a moment, I didn't recognize him. His eyes were deeper, sunken, darker, like something was sitting behind them and watching me. He opened his mouth. There, on the back of his tongue, was a black smear. Like ink. Or tar. It pulsed faintly. I had a bite, he whispered. In my dream. But it wasn't a dream. I felt bile rise in my throat. I grabbed him, shook him harder than I should have. We're leaving. Right now. I yanked him to his feet, but as soon as I opened the bedroom door, the hallway light flickered, and died. And then the house moaned. Not creaked. Not groaned. Moaned. Like it was in pain. The walls trembled slightly. The air smelled like freezer burn, rotting milk, and something else, like pennies and meat. I stepped into the hall with Joey behind me. That's when I saw it. A trail of wet footprints on the carpet. Leading from the front door, up the stairs, straight to Joey's room. But the door to his room was still closed. Whatever had come in, was already inside. Man Comes at Night Part 10. I should have run. Out the back door, into the street, anywhere. But something about those wet footprints, wide, flat, inhuman, froze me in place. My body didn't listen. My legs didn't move. Even Joey, who had been so entranced before, now clung to my arm, trembling. From behind his bedroom door came a sound. A slurp. Wet, deliberate. Then a whisper, "He's not yours anymore." I couldn't take it. I kicked the door open and burst inside, swinging the bat in front of me. But the room was empty. The lights buzzed back to life as the door hit the wall. Joey's blankets were tossed to the floor, his pillow soaked through with a dark, oily stain. But no one, nothing, was there. Only the open window. And the popsicle. A new one. Blood red. Still perfectly shaped. Balanced upright on the windowsill. And beneath it, carved into the wood frame, he chose the cold. Joey started sobbing. "I didn't choose," he cried. "I didn't. I didn't pick anything, but deep down, I wasn't so sure." That mark on his tongue. The way he spoke when he wasn't fully awake. The black smudge that hadn't been there before. What if it wasn't just about eating? What if choosing could happen in a dream? We left the room. I slammed the door and locked it, even though I knew locks didn't matter anymore. Every shadow in the house felt like it was watching. The vents groaned with distant echoes of that damned music. We slept in the living room that night, curled up under blankets with every light on. But at 2:07 a.m., the doorbell rang. And outside, through the peephole, was me. I didn't breathe. Couldn't. I just stared through the peephole, heart hammering in my chest, watching a perfect copy of myself stand motionless on our porch. Same hair. Same clothes. Same scar above the eyebrow from when I fell off my bike in 3rd grade. But the eyes. They were wrong. Empty. Dull. Like they'd been copied and pasted onto a mannequin. My double didn't blink. Didn't move. Just stared at the door. And then, it smiled. Too wide. The corners of its mouth stretched higher than they should have. Like the skin didn't know where to stop. It raised one hand. Holding a popsicle. White. I staggered back, pulse screaming in my ears. Joey looked up at me, lip trembling. "What is it? Who's there?" "Nobody," I lied. "Nobody's there." But the doorbell rang again. Then again. And again. Each ring sharper, louder, until it didn't sound like a bell. It sounded like screaming. I grabbed Joey and pulled him into the bathroom, slammed the door, locked it. Again. Our safe place. Our last place. The light above the mirror flickered violently. I heard footsteps, inside the house now. But they weren't heavy. They were identical to mine. I could hear my own footsteps moving through the hallway. And then, a voice. Mine. but hollow. Flat. I've already been chosen, it whispered through the door. Now you have to come too. There's a place for you in the freezer. Joey whimpered beside me. I didn't answer. I didn't breathe. The light went out. And in the blackness, the voice laughed. The laugh wasn't loud. It was soft. Gentle. Like someone humming a lullaby inside a freezer full of corpses. I held Joey tight against me, my back pressed to the cold porcelain of the tub. My fingers were numb. Not from fear, though there was plenty of that, but from the temperature. The air around us was dropping. Fast. Our breath came out in clouds. And then, a new sound. Click. The bathroom doorknob turning. Slow. Deliberate. I grabbed the plunger handle beside the toilet, the only thing close to a weapon, and whispered, if anything comes through, you run. Understand? Joey nodded, eyes wide, frozen in place. Click. The lock rattled. Then, silence. No more knocking. No more turning. Just that awful, hanging quiet. I leaned forward, holding my breath, ear to the door. Nothing. Maybe it had gone. Then, a slap against the wood. Not a knock. A hand. Then another. Then 10. Then more. Hands. Slapping. Scratching. Smearing across the door like dozens of cold palms and fingernails, trying to find a way in. From above. From below. From inside the walls. Joey screamed. I held him tighter. Then, a voice. All around us. Not from outside the door, but from the mirror. It whispered, you saw your face. That means it's already waiting. The lights flickered once. Then the mirror cracked straight down the middle. And behind the split, I didn't see our reflection anymore. I saw the inside of a freezer. And inside it, I saw me. I stared into the mirror, paralyzed. My reflection, no, another version of me, was trapped behind the glass. Lips blue. Skin pale. Eyes wide open, unmoving. Frost lined the edges of its hair. Crystals clung to its eyelashes like tiny icicles. Its mouth opened slowly. And mouthed one word, soon. The lights in the bathroom burst all at once. Glass showered down like frozen rain. I shielded Joey, heart thundering. When I looked back up, the crack in the mirror had spread, and the reflection was gone. I grabbed Joey by the hand. We're leaving. Now. We didn't stop to pack. We didn't call Mom, she was working the night shift anyway. We just ran. Out the front door, into the humid night. The air outside hit me like a wall after the deep chill of the house, but I welcomed it. The ice cream truck was nowhere in sight. For the first time in days, the street was silent. We cut across the lawn and kept running, past neighbors' houses, past the stop sign at the end of the cul-de-sac. I didn't look back. Not until Joey tugged my sleeve and pointed. There, at the edge of the woods, a single popsicle stood upright in the grass. Red. Just like before. And behind it, half hidden in shadow, I saw a tall, hunched figure watching us from between the trees. The ice cream man. His chest rose and fell slowly, like he was breathing with the forest. Joey whispered, we can't run. I turned to him. What? He looked up at me with glassy eyes. He knows where cold lives. He doesn't need streets. We kept running. I didn't care what Joey said. I didn't care what we saw. I needed distance. I needed light. I needed to believe we could outrun whatever had slithered into our lives. We made it to the gas station just off the main road, the only one open 24 hours. Fluorescent lights buzzed above. Country music played low on the radio. An old man stood behind the counter flipping through a magazine, barely glancing up as we burst in. "Rough night," he muttered, not expecting an answer. I didn't reply. I just dragged Joey to the back of the store and crouched behind a shelf of motor oil. My hands were shaking. My shirt clung to my back with sweat. I checked my phone, 2:22 a.m. But no missed calls. No texts. No updates. As if the world outside had stopped. Joey was quiet now. Too quiet. I turned to him. "Are you okay?" He didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the freezer near the soda aisle. The glass was fogged over. Inside, behind the shelves of ice cream bars and energy drinks, something was moving. Not just condensation. Shifting. I stood slowly, creeping toward the glass. Inside the freezer, shoved behind the rows of popsicles, was a face. Pressed against the glass from the inside. Mouth open. Eyes unblinking. Skin pale and slick with frost. My face. Again. This one had blood frozen at the corners of its mouth, as if it had been screaming in silence. Then the freezer light flickered, and the face was gone. I spun around. Joey wasn't beside me anymore. I ran through the aisles, calling his name. Then I heard it. The music. That same slow, broken melody. But not from the street. It was playing from the slushy machine. The slushy machine gurgled like it was choking on its own insides. The lights inside it flickered blue and red, casting warped shadows across the linoleum. And beneath that low, broken version of Pop Goes the Weasel, something else was buried, a voice. Cold as calm. Cold as quiet. Come be calm. Come be quiet. I backed away, heart racing, eyes scanning the store. "Joey!" I yelled. "Joey, answer me." The old man behind the counter didn't even look up. He just muttered, "Kids always disappear when that music plays. What did you say?" I snapped, stepping toward him. He slowly raised his eyes. They were glazed over. Frost clung to his eyebrows. I said, "They scream the loudest before they freeze." Then he smiled, and one of his teeth fell out. It hit the counter and shattered like ice. I turned and ran. And there, standing at the far end of the chip aisle, was Joey. But he wasn't alone. Behind him stood the ice cream man. Not outside anymore. Not in the distance. Here. Inside. He was hunched beneath the buzzing ceiling lights, his massive frame almost brushing the bulbs. His face was clearer now, like a melting wax mask stretched over a skull too large for its skin. His apron was stained with something dark, and his gloves dripped with condensation. He had a hand on Joey's shoulder. Joey didn't move. He looked at me, eyes blank, and whispered, "He's not taking me. He's trading." The ice cream man leaned in behind him, grinning wider than should be possible. And said, with my voice, "We just want who's already cold." I couldn't move. Joey stood between us like an offering, small and still, as the ice cream man loomed behind him. That twisted waxen face tilted ever so slightly to the side, like it was studying me, or waiting. "I'm not cold," I said, my voice shaking. The thing wearing my voice grinned wider. "Not yet." I lunged forward, swinging the only thing I had, a metal flashlight I'd grabbed from a nearby shelf. But as I stepped toward Joey, the world around me changed. The lights overhead buzzed and popped. The ceiling stretched upward. The shelves pulled back like shadows in reverse. The gas station wasn't a gas station anymore. It was a freezer. I was standing inside it. Frost coated the walls. My breath fogged instantly. Shelves filled with neatly stacked popsicles lined both sides. Some were black. Others were red. One was white and pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat trapped in ice. I turned. Joey was gone. So was the ice cream man. And in the far end of this icy corridor, I saw a new shelf. Labeled neatly in carved, frozen letters, for delivery. I stepped closer. Each shelf held a body. Frozen. Mouths open in silent screams. Skin turned blue. Eyes wide and glassy. One of them was the old man from the gas station. Another was a girl from my neighborhood. And the last one was me. Not moving. Not breathing. Arms wrapped tightly around Joey, as if trying to shield him. Ice coated my lashes. I stumbled back. And then I heard the tune again. But not from speakers. From inside my head. Slow, deliberate, impossible to ignore. All the children tried to run. Now their story's finally done. The air pressed in like a weight. Each breath was a battle. My fingers had gone numb. My knees buckled as the freezer's walls seemed to pulse, exhaling cold fog from unseen vents. That frozen version of me, holding Joey. It was so real. But it wasn't. It couldn't be. I'm still here, I whispered, shaking. I haven't given in. But something answered. From behind. Not yet. I spun around. The ice cream man stood inches from me now. His breath spilled from his nostrils like steam from a broken pipe. His apron now bore names, hundreds of them. Stitched in tiny red thread. Some I recognized. Others I didn't. But one stood out, Joey. Right above mine. He reached forward slowly, impossibly long fingers unfurling like thawing vines. In one hand was a silver scoop. In the other, a fresh popsicle stick. Blank. Still waiting. I raised the flashlight again, my only weapon, and swung. It passed straight through him. Like he wasn't fully there. He didn't flinch. Just smiled wider. Then, he opened the freezer door behind me. But it wasn't a door to exit. It was a drop chute. Endless black. The kind you throw spoiled stock into. He whispered, "You can keep the boy, if you take the cold." Behind me, the frozen version of myself vanished. Joey stood alone in the ice, reaching out with trembling hands. "Please," he said. "I don't want to be alone in here." I was out of time. Either take the cold, or let him freeze. I stepped toward Joey. Each movement felt like wading through frozen syrup. Slow, sticky, wrong. The ice cream man stood behind me, silent, still holding that blank popsicle stick like it was a contract. Joey's eyes locked with mine. "I'm scared," he whispered. "It's so quiet here." I reached out, grabbed his hand. His skin was ice. Brittle. Like if I squeezed too hard, he'd shatter. I pulled him close and wrapped my arms around him. And then I turned to the ice cream man. "Take me," I said. "But he goes home." The creature's face didn't change. He only extended the stick toward me. And this time, it had a name carved into it. Mine. I took it. The instant my fingers closed around the wood, the cold rushed in. Not just around me, into me. Through my veins. Behind my eyes. It wasn't just temperature. It was silence. Emptiness. It was forgetting what warmth felt like. What sound was. What names meant. I couldn't hear Joey anymore. I couldn't remember why I was afraid. I dropped to my knees. The popsicle began to grow from the stick in my hand, forming like a crystal, and turning pure white. Then I felt his hand. Joey's. He was pulling me. Let go, he cried. Please, you said I could go home. You said you'd stay. But I won't leave without you. His voice cut through the cold. Through the silence. Through whatever spell was holding me. And for a second, just one brief second, the ice cream man blinked. The spell broke. I threw the stick into the chute. And ran. We didn't stop. I don't remember running. I don't remember how we got out of the freezer. One moment we were sprinting through aisles of frost and shadow, the next we were stumbling into the street, gasping under the hot, humid breath of early morning. It was still dark, but the sky was lightening, just barely. That purple-gray haze that comes before sunrise. Joey collapsed onto the sidewalk, clutching his chest. I dropped beside him, choking on air, body still shivering, soaked in sweat and something colder than ice. But we were out. The gas station was gone. Not physically, it was still there. The building. The sign. The pumps. But the inside was dark. The windows were blacked out. And where the slushy machine had once stood, I saw only a smear of red on the glass. No music. No truck. No face. Just silence. Did we make it? Joey asked, voice cracking. I nodded. I think so. But I wasn't sure. Something inside me still felt off. Like a part of me had been left behind in that freezer. Like something else had crawled into my skin during those final seconds. And Joey. He still felt cold. We walked home as the sky turned orange, the sun finally rising over the rooftops. When we stepped onto our porch, I stopped dead. There, sitting perfectly centered on the doormat, was a single popsicle. Black. Balanced. Upright. And this time, it didn't have a name on it. It had a question. Carved into the stick, shaky and shallow, did you think it ends in summer? I stared at the popsicle. Its surface glistened, even in the heat. But it didn't melt. The question carved into the stick, did you think it ends in summer, rattled in my skull like broken glass. Joey stood behind me, silent now. His breathing had steadied. The color had returned to his cheeks. But he didn't look at the popsicle. He looked at me. What does it mean? He asked. I didn't answer. I didn't know how. Instead, I reached down with the edge of my shoe and kicked the thing off the porch. It fell sideways in the grass, rolled once, and stopped. Still whole. Still untouched. That night, I stayed up late. No music. No truck. No cold spots in the house. Just the hum of our fridge and the distant barking of someone's dog. For the first time in weeks, it felt normal. But I couldn't sleep. Not because I was afraid he'd come back, but because I didn't think he ever left. When I looked in the mirror brushing my teeth, my reflection lagged, just a second behind. Barely noticeable. When I turned on the faucet, the first few drops came out cold enough to burn. When I opened the freezer to grab an ice tray, I found a popsicle. One I didn't buy. No label. Just white. Smooth. Perfect. And behind it, on the frosted wall of the freezer, words etched into the ice. Winter is quieter. The end. I work security in a quiet neighborhood. At night, something watches the streets. People think residential neighborhoods are peaceful at night. They imagine porch lights glowing softly, dogs barking in the distance, and a few late-night TV screens flickering behind curtains. But they never imagine what I see. I've been a night security guard for a private suburban development just outside the city. Nothing fancy. Just rows of identical houses, some still under construction, some barely lived in. I do 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., Monday through Friday. Alone. My job? Just patrol. Walk the streets. Watch the empty model homes. Make sure teenagers aren't sneaking in. Occasionally scare off a raccoon or shut a garage someone forgot to close. But lately, something's changed. It started last Tuesday. At around 2:13 a.m., I was doing my second round through the east side, Elmwood Drive. It's the part of the neighborhood that hasn't been fully moved into yet. Streetlights are sparse there, maybe one every few hundred feet, so most of the road is blanketed in shadow. That's when I saw it. A figure. Not walking, standing. Right in the middle of the road, under a dead streetlight. It was tall. Unnaturally still. I thought maybe it was a teenager trying to scare me, or some weird prank. I called out. No response. So I stepped closer. And then it moved. Not toward me. Away. But not walking. Not running. Just gliding. Like its feet didn't touch the pavement. I should have followed protocol. I should have radioed it in. But I didn't. I just stood there, frozen. It disappeared behind one of the empty houses. I didn't chase it. I told myself it was my imagination. But the next night, at the exact same time, 2:13 a.m., I saw it again. The second time, it was standing in a different spot, near the end of Oakview Court, just outside the last occupied home on the block. No lights. No movement. Just a black shape, too tall, too thin, like someone stretched a shadow into something almost human. I tried to be smart. I turned on my body cam and approached slowly, hand on my flashlight. It didn't move this time. Just stood there. Watching. Or maybe waiting. When I was about 20 feet away, I shone the light straight at it. The beam hit the shape, and passed right through. No shadow behind it. No outline. Just nothing. And then it was gone. One blink. And the street was empty. I replayed the footage the next morning. The body cam showed me walking. Talking. Flashlight in hand. But there was no figure. Nothing in the road. No outline. No shape. Just me, shining a light at empty air. I didn't tell anyone. What could I say? But then came Thursday. This time, I didn't see it in the street. I saw it in someone's yard. Just standing behind a tree, partially hidden, like it wanted me to spot it, just barely. Like it was teasing me. And right as I raised my light, the porch light of that house flickered on. It's supposed to be on a timer. I checked it later, still was. No motion sensors. Nobody home. But the light came on at exactly 2:13 a.m. just like before. And underneath the hum of the bulbs, I swear I heard it. A whisper from behind me. It said, "You're the only one awake." I spun around, flashlight raised. Nothing. Just quiet. Stillness. The kind of silence that isn't peaceful, it's too quiet. Like the world's holding its breath. I walked the rest of my shift with one hand hovering over the radio and the other gripping my light so hard my knuckles turned white. Every tree looked like it was hiding something. Every mailbox cast the wrong kind of shadow. I told myself I was sleep-deprived, paranoid, imagining things. But then came Friday. Everything was normal, until I reached house 41. It's been vacant for months. 2 failed sales. The neighbors say families move in, then break their lease and leave without explanation. I never gave it much thought. Until now. At exactly 2:13 a.m., my radio crackled. I hadn't touched it. No calls were scheduled. But a voice came through anyway. Distorted. Warped. Distant. It said, "Turn around." My spine locked. I didn't move. The radio hissed again. Louder this time. "He's standing behind you." I turned slowly, heart pounding. And there it was again. That same tall figure. This time, it was on the roof of house 41. It wasn't just standing, it was leaning forward, like it had been crawling, and froze mid-motion. Its limbs were too long, joints bending the wrong way, fingers planted flat like it had suctioned itself to the shingles. And its face, there wasn't one. Just a smooth, pale shape where a face should be, pulsing gently like something beneath the surface was moving. I stepped back. It didn't move. It didn't need to. Because at that exact moment, every light on the street shut off. All at once. The blackout was total. No porch lights. No street lights. Even my flashlight flickered, once, twice, then died in my hand, like something had sucked the charge right out of it. Only the moon gave off any light, and it barely touched the pavement. I stood there, paralyzed, staring at the roof of house 41. But the figure was gone. No sound. No movement. Just that awful, dead silence. I grabbed my radio and called dispatch. Unit 3, reporting electrical failure, requesting confirmation of outage in the North Oakview sector. No reply. Just static. Then a click. And a voice I didn't recognize whispered back, "The lights aren't out. They're just being held." I dropped the radio. Ran to my car. It wouldn't start. No engine turnover. No dashboard lights. Dead. I sat in the driver's seat, trying to catch my breath. My hands were shaking. My chest tight. I was drenched in sweat, despite the cool night. Then the windshield fogged up from the outside. I wiped it. And saw a handprint. Pressed flat against the glass. Long fingers. Thin palm. Too high to be from a child, too narrow to be from an adult. It slid slowly downward. I scrambled out of the car, turned to confront whatever it was. But no one was there. Just the faint sound of something dragging across asphalt, somewhere behind the houses. Something heavy. Something that didn't walk. That's when I realized. There were no crickets. No wind. No sound at all, except that. And it was getting closer. I didn't run. I should have. But I didn't. I backed toward the sidewalk, eyes scanning every roof, every yard, every shadow between the houses. That dragging sound, it wasn't constant. It came in slow, pulsing intervals. Like whatever was moving only did so when I wasn't looking. Like it was waiting for me to blink. I reached the corner of Elmwood and Birch, where there's a small playground built for future residents' kids. It's still fenced off, no one uses it yet. But the gate was open. I know I locked it. And inside, the swing was moving. Just one. Back and forth. Squeaking slowly. There was no wind. No other movement. And then I noticed something in the sand beneath it, footprints. Deep. Bare. Not just one pair, several. All facing different directions. Like something had been pacing. Or circling. I aimed my flashlight even though it had died earlier, and to my shock, it flickered back on. For 1 second. And in that second, I saw something crouched in the tunnel slide. Pressed into the plastic. Folded into itself. Watching me. Its head tilted. And then the light went out again. I backed away slowly, breathing hard, every step feeling like I was stepping deeper into someone else's territory. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up. No voice. Just breathing. Wet, ragged, like ice cracking under pressure. Then a whisper, "Don't patrol that street again." I didn't sleep when I got home that morning. I just sat on the edge of my bed, phone in one hand, flashlight in the other, door locked, curtains drawn. I kept replaying the voicemail, the one I saved from that unknown number. I listened to the breathing over and over. It didn't sound right. Not human. Too wet. Too hollow. Like the lungs weren't lungs anymore. I thought about quitting. I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? That a faceless thing was watching me from rooftops and swing sets? That something left barefoot tracks in sand and whispered threats through dead radios? No one would believe me. So I went back the next night. I told myself I'd stay near the model home, keep close to the main road, the lights, the cameras. No more exploring. No more late-night patrols into dead zones. That promise lasted until 2:10 a.m. I didn't even realize I'd walked to house 41 again until I was standing in front of it. The porch light was on. The door was open. Just a crack. I should have left. But the air felt strange, charged. Like something was waiting. I stepped onto the porch. It creaked beneath my feet. My flashlight hummed softly, the beam slightly stronger than before. I raised it and pushed the door open slowly. Inside, everything was wrong. The floor was soaked. Walls buckled with moisture. The air was freezing. The living room furniture was wrapped in clear plastic, but beneath it, the shape of a figure was visible. Sitting upright. Unmoving. Facing me. And on the wall behind it, written in smeared condensation, were 3 words, "You were seen." I stood in the doorway, afraid to breathe too loudly. The figure under the plastic wrap didn't move. But it was there, undeniably human-shaped. Head tilted toward the hallway. Arms folded stiffly on its lap. The plastic shimmered slightly under my flashlight, but it was fogged from the inside, like whoever was under it was still warm just moments ago. I called out. "Security. Anyone here?" No answer. Not a sound. The air smelled like mildew and something else, sweet and sour, like rotting fruit left in a freezer too long. My boots squished on the soaked carpet. I took 1 step inside. The front door slowly creaked shut behind me. I froze. My flashlight dimmed again. This time not flickering, but fading, as if the very air was swallowing the light. Then I heard it. From down the hall. Footsteps. Slow. Bare. Wet. Coming from the master bedroom at the end of the corridor. I raised my radio, thumb hovering over the call button, but all I got was white noise again. Louder this time. Almost a growl. The figure in the living room still hadn't moved. But as I turned to back away, I noticed something chilling. There was a second plastic-covered shape. Right behind the first one. Smaller. Child-sized. Its head was turned toward me. And through the fogged plastic, I could just make out the impression of a wide, smiling mouth. Then, from down the hallway, the voice returned. Not from a radio. Not from the air. From the house itself. Now you belong on this street too. I stumbled backward, flashlight trembling in my hand, eyes locked on the two plastic-covered figures. They didn't move. But I felt them watching me. From behind the foggy layers. From behind the stillness. Like they weren't corpses, but passengers. I turned toward the hallway. The footsteps had stopped. The silence was worse. I should have run. But I stepped forward instead. Drawn, not by bravery, but by something heavier, like the air itself had hands, gently nudging me deeper into the house. Each step felt softer, spongier. The floor seemed to sink under my weight. The walls were wet to the touch, like condensation was bleeding from beneath the paint. When I reached the master bedroom door, it was already open. Darkness poured out from within. I shined my light. The beam didn't reach the far wall. It just vanished. Like it was being absorbed. The room was impossibly dark. Depthless. And then, a hand reached out from the black. Not fast. Not violent. Just, slowly extending into the hallway. Pale, thin, fingertips damp and trembling like someone trying to feel the temperature of the air. I didn't wait. I ran. Out the house. Down the street. Didn't stop until I reached the model home where the night desk was. I slammed the door behind me, locked it, and sat in the corner, panting. When I finally looked up at the monitor feeds, every camera was black. Except one. Facing House 41. Where the front door was now wide open. And on the porch, standing exactly where I had been, was me. I stared at the monitor, unblinking. My double stood motionless on the porch of House 41, same uniform, same posture, even the same tear in the sleeve I'd made 2 weeks ago on a fence post. But something was wrong. He was smiling. I never smile during shift. Not like that. It was too wide. Too clean. Too deliberate. Like a mask trying to mimic emotion. He stood facing the street, head slightly tilted, hands behind his back. Then he turned, and looked straight at the camera. Straight at me. The feed glitched. Static burst across the screen. For a second, the monitor showed a different view, a black room, filled with rows of plastic-covered chairs. In each one, a figure. Still. Draped. Identical. Then it snapped back. I grabbed my radio. Unit 3 reporting suspicious individual posing as security near House 41, requesting backup. Immediate response. Silence. Then a reply. But it wasn't dispatch. It was my voice. Already here. The lights in the model home flickered once. Twice. then went out. My flashlight refused to turn on. The emergency phone line cut to static. I stood in the dark, chest heaving, sweat dripping from my forehead. Then, 3 knocks. Not at the front door. At the glass sliding door behind me. I turned. And there he was. Me. But now, his smile was gone. And he was pointing at me. He didn't move. Just kept pointing. Through the glass, his eyes locked on mine. Soulless, empty, like they were painted on. His finger trembled ever so slightly, as if straining to hold its position. Like he was commanding, not asking. I backed away from the sliding door. Then he moved. Slowly. His hand shifted downward, dragging one long finger along the glass. The sound, sharp, screeching, sent a bolt of nausea through my gut. I couldn't take it anymore. I lunged into the back room, locked the door behind me, and shoved a file cabinet in front of it. My breathing was wild, heart thudding so loud I thought it might shake the walls. The security monitor in this room was still working. Just one camera left, interior hallway of House 41. Why was it still on? I leaned in. At first, all I saw was darkness. Then, something shifted. A figure stepped into frame. Not my double. Something worse. It was tall. Bent. Its arms hung unnaturally low, fingertips brushing the floor. Its skin looked waxy, translucent, stretched too thin across its bones. No face. No features. And it was walking straight toward the camera. No sound. No hesitation. Step after step. Until it reached the lens. And leaned in close. Then, across the entire monitor, in smeared, dripping letters, "You left the door open." Right as the power cut out. And behind me, the file cabinet began to slide. The file cabinet screeched across the tile, inching away from the door like something was pulling from the other side. I held my breath. No footsteps. No voices. Only the sound of pressure, wood creaking, air tightening, like the house itself was bracing for something. I grabbed the flashlight again. Still dead. But I raised it anyway. I needed something between me and that door. The knob began to rattle. Not like someone trying to open it. Like someone laughing with it. That slow, rhythmic jiggle, side to side, click click click, like a mocking child testing how much you'd panic. I reached for my phone. 1% battery. No signal. One last flicker of light, and then it died. I was in total darkness. Then, the door stopped rattling. The silence returned. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. 10 seconds. 20. A minute. Then, tap. 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 From the inside of the closet behind me. I turned slowly toward the closet. The room was pitch black. My breath clouded in the cold that had crept in unnoticed. The kind of cold that doesn't come from weather, it comes from presence. The tapping continued. 3 soft knocks. Pause. Then 2 more. Like a pattern. Like it was calling out. I stepped toward the closet, each step creaking on the old tile. My hand shook as I reached for the knob. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe a rat. Maybe the building shifting. But deep down, I already knew, it was waiting for me. I opened the door. Nothing. Just coats. Empty hangers. Dust. And one thing more, a mirror. I hadn't noticed it before. Full length, nailed to the inside of the closet wall. But the reflection wasn't mine. It was the other me. The copy. Standing there, behind my shoulder, grinning. No movement. No blinking. Just watching. Then it raised a hand and began to write something across the inside of the glass, with my own reflection's finger. Words scratched into the frost like it was carving into me. Stay long enough, you become one of us. The glass cracked. I slammed the door. Behind me, the radio burst back to life. And the voice said, "One more night. One more night." That's what the voice said. Like it was a deal. A countdown. A promise. I didn't sleep that day. I didn't even go home. I sat in my car, still dead, outside the gates of the neighborhood, watching the streets like they might collapse in on themselves. At dusk, the sun painted the houses gold and pink, as if nothing had ever happened here. Lawns were trimmed. Driveways were empty. No kids played. No sprinklers hissed. No signs of life. I almost didn't go back in. But part of me knew, if I didn't finish the shift, it wouldn't matter. They'd come anyway. So I walked back through the gate. 8 p.m. sharp. Last shift. The streetlights flickered on one by one. Even the ones that hadn't worked in weeks. They burned brighter than usual. Too bright, casting long, stretched shadows across the sidewalks like fingers reaching out from the asphalt. As I made my way toward House 41, I noticed something new. Doors were open. Every house. Not wide. Just cracked. As if the whole neighborhood was exhaling. And in every dark doorway, I saw them. Silhouettes. Thin. Still. Waiting. All facing the street. All watching me. I gripped my flashlight, knowing it wouldn't help. Then my radio crackled again. It said only this. "We saved you a room. We saved you a room." I didn't ask which house. I already knew. House 41. The heart of it all. Every footstep toward it felt heavier, like I was being pulled forward rather than walking of my own will. The pavement beneath my boots didn't sound right anymore, too soft, like I was stepping on fabric rather than concrete. When I turned the final corner, House 41 was glowing. Warm yellow light poured from every window. The door stood wide open now, like a mouth waiting to swallow. Inside, I saw movement. Not frantic. Not fast. Just shapes drifting slowly past the hallways. Shadowy figures walking in loops, like they were stuck in an endless routine. Like they'd been doing this for years. Centuries. One of them stopped in front of the open door. It was me again. But this time, not smiling. Just watching. Waiting. Behind him, I saw others. Duplicates of people I didn't know. Women. Children. Elderly men. All slightly off. Like paintings left in the rain. Eyes too far apart. Fingers too long. Movements a few frames too slow. And each of them turned toward the door, toward me. I couldn't move. Then they all whispered in unison, "Your bed is made." The porch light buzzed overhead. And the copy of me lifted one hand, beckoning, "Come inside." I stepped inside. I wish I could say I was forced, pulled by some invisible hand, but the truth is, I walked in on my own. Something about the house felt familiar. The air was warmer than it should have been. Thick. Like a breath that never left. The lights didn't flicker anymore. They pulsed, slow and steady, in rhythm with my heartbeat. The front door closed behind me on its own. No bang. No wind. Just a soft click. The hallway stretched longer than I remembered. Pictures lined the walls, photos I didn't recognize. Families. Weddings. Birthday parties. Until I did recognize one. A security guard. Standing in front of the neighborhood gate. Smiling. Me. But the photo was dated 3 weeks before I ever took the job. I reached the living room. It wasn't empty anymore. Figures sat on the couch. On the chairs. On the floor. Draped in shadows and silence. They didn't look up. Didn't speak. They just waited. For what, I didn't know. Then the lights dimmed. And something descended the stairs. Not footsteps. More like, weight. Like the entire house bowed under it. When it reached the bottom, I saw it clearly for the first time. The original. The thing all the copies came from. It wasn't wearing a face anymore. It was wearing mine. But stretched. Inverted. Inside out. And it whispered, without lips, every neighborhood needs a watcher. Every neighborhood needs a watcher. The voice didn't echo through the room, it echoed through me. I took a step back, but the floor stretched beneath me like taffy. No matter how far I moved, the distance between me and that thing never changed. Its face, my face, twitched subtly, like the skin was still deciding how to wear itself. Behind it, the walls of the house shifted. The hallway I'd entered through was gone. The windows showed nothing, no outside world, no light, not even darkness. Just a blank gray void. I wasn't in a house anymore. I was inside it. The neighborhood. Or whatever it really was. The figures from the living room began to rise. Slowly. Smoothly. Like marionettes pulled upward on invisible strings. Their faces flickered, cycling through expressions like a broken slideshow, sadness, confusion, anger, and finally, numbness. They turned to me in unison. And spoke, not with mouths, but with the air itself. You looked too long. Then the original stepped closer. Its chest opened, not torn, not split, peeled. Inside, there wasn't muscle or bone. Just rooms. Identical rooms. Dozens of them. Each one with a chair facing a black window. Each one with a watcher seated. And I recognized their faces. Old security guards. All still, glass-eyed, waiting for their shift to end. The thing gestured to the space inside its chest, and I saw my room. Ready. Empty. A badge on the chair. My name etched into the wood. I couldn't look away. My room sat waiting, too perfect, like it had been expecting me for years. The badge on the chair gleamed softly, untouched by dust or time. The engraving read, Officer Number 73, Night Watch. That number chilled me more than anything. How many had come before me? The room inside the creature's chest pulsed faintly, like it was breathing. I could hear something within, a low hum. Not mechanical. Not human. A vibration, steady and endless, like a forgotten generator deep underground. Then I saw movement in the window of my assigned room. Someone staring out. It was me. Or another version of me. Older. Pale. Eyes hollow and mouth slack, like he'd been sitting there for years, waiting for release that never came. He lifted a hand and placed it on the glass. Mimicking what I'd done, the night I saw that first figure under the broken streetlight. I stumbled back. "No," I whispered. "This isn't real." But the house spoke again. "Real is repetition. Real is routine. Real is staying." The walls twisted around me, reshaping into hallways. Rows of doors on either side, each one labeled with badge numbers and titles. And behind each door, I heard breathing. Slow. Measured. Like hundreds of lungs, all inhaling in perfect sync. I turned, ready to run, anywhere, but found myself back in the original hallway, face to face with the front door. And it was open. Not into the street. Not into the neighborhood. Into darkness. And the voice said, "Or, you can patrol the dark. Two choices. Sit forever in a room that wasn't real, watching a world that didn't exist. Or walk through a door into nothing." Neither felt like escape. Both felt like traps. But the thought of sitting, staring, becoming one of them. I took the second option. I stepped toward the front door, into the dark. At first, there was nothing. No sensation. No ground. No air. No sound. I didn't fall, I simply ceased to stand. Then, light. Not warm, not comforting. A cold, pale shimmer, like moonlight reflecting off still water. Shapes began to form around me. Streets. Houses. Porches. But wrong. Everything was twisted. The roads curved upward into the sky, like a loop. The houses had too many windows. Some pulsed like they were breathing. The streetlights weren't lights at all, they were eyes. And they were all looking at me. I was back in a neighborhood. But not the one I'd guarded. A darker version. Deeper. Beneath it. The voice returned. Quieter now, but still inside my skull. "You chose the dark. Now walk it." A new badge appeared on my chest. Number 73. Still me. But below it, a new title, Perimeter. And somewhere in the distance, I heard a new set of boots echoing on pavement. Another guard. Another shift. Another watcher. Like me. I walked. Not because I wanted to. Because I was expected to. Every step I took seemed to echo forever, like the street had no end. The houses changed as I passed. Sometimes tall and thin, like needles in the dark. Sometimes sunken and bloated, doors yawning open to impossible blackness. But every one of them watched me. Some didn't even try to hide it. I passed a window and saw a family inside, still as mannequins, posed around a dinner table. Their eyes followed me as I moved. Another house had a dozen faces pressed against the glass, grinning through skin stretched too tight, mouths twitching in unison like they were practicing being human. I didn't stop. Couldn't. A glowing sign appeared at the edge of the next cul-de-sac. Zone 73, observation loop assigned. It blinked once, then faded. This was my section now. Every shift, walk the loop. Every night, the same path. Same houses. Same watchers. But something changed on the third pass. I saw a new house that hadn't been there before. Its windows were dark. Its front door stood slightly open. And inside, at the edge of shadow, a flashlight glowed. Flickering. Just like mine had. And on the porch, bent over a logbook, was a man in a familiar uniform. He looked up slowly. And I saw my face. But younger. Tired. Unknowing. just starting his first night shift. He didn't see me. The younger me. He was busy filling out the logbook, scratching down his initials like it mattered, like it meant anything. The porch light above him buzzed softly, casting pale halos around his boots. I watched from the other side of the street, hidden behind a streetlight that blinked in a slow, steady rhythm, like a heartbeat syncing with the shift. He yawned, stretched, looked up at the neighborhood before him, still believing it was normal, still thinking he was alone. I wanted to call out, warn him, tell him not to patrol the cul-de-sac at 2:13 a.m. Tell him to ignore the whispers on the radio. To run the moment he sees the thing with no face. But I couldn't. Because that's not how it works here. That's not what watchers do. We observe. We circle. We replace. Just like someone watched me. Now it's my turn. I turned from the house and continued walking. The same route. Same steps. Same shadows. And as I passed each porch, each eye behind each curtain, I saw more of them. Others like me. Security guards. Maintenance workers. Delivery drivers. All walking. All looping. All part of the shift. And somewhere above, beneath the endless black sky, a soft voice echoed, "There's always another neighborhood. Candle the end."